All right, so everyone's coming in. Of course, I'm Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. Joining me are members of our senior team, and also we have Reverend Joseph Beasley. We have coming in soon T.I. and Killer Mike, as well as Shaka Zulu, and there may be some others joining us. Let me just speak to what's happening here today. Above everything else, I am a mother. I am a mother to 4 black children in America, one of whom is 18 years old. And when I saw the murder of George Floyd, I hurt like a mother would hurt. And on yesterday, when I heard there were rumors about violent protests in Atlanta, I did what a mother would do. I called my son and I said, "Where are you?" I said, "I cannot protect you, and black boys shouldn't be out today. So you're not going to out-concern me and out-care about where we are in America. I wear this each and every day, and I pray over my children each and every day. So what I see happening on the streets of Atlanta is not Atlanta. This is not a protest. This is not in the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr. This is chaos. A protest has purpose. When Dr. King was assassinated, we didn't do this to our city. So if you love this city that has had a legacy of black mayors and black police chiefs and people who care about this city, where more than 50% of the business owners in Metro Atlanta are minority business owners. If you care about this city, then go home and pray that somebody like Reverend Beasley will come and talk to you and give you some instructions on what a protest should look like and how you effectuate change in America. This police chief made a video on yesterday, pull it up on YouTube, where she said she was appalled to watch the murder of George Floyd. This woman did that. You're not honoring the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights movement. You're not protesting anything, running out with brown liquor in your hands, breaking windows in this city. T.I. and Killer Mike own half the West Side. So when you burn down this city, you're burning down our community. If you want change in America, go and register to vote. Show up at the polls on June 9th. Do it in November. That is the change we need in this country. You are disgracing our city. You are disgracing the life of George Floyd and every other person who has been killed in this country. We are better than this. We're better than this as a city. We are better than this as a country. Go home. Go home. In the same way I couldn't protect my son on yesterday, I cannot protect you out in those streets. You're throwing knives at our police officers. You are burning cars. You have defaced the CNN building. Ted Turner started CNN in Atlanta 40 years ago because he believed in who we are as a city. There was a black reporter who was arrested on camera this morning who works for CNN. They are telling our stories, and you are disgracing their building. This is not the legacy of civil rights in America. This is chaos and we're buying into it. This won't change anything. We're no longer talking about the murder of an innocent man. We're talking about how you're burning police cars on the streets of Atlanta, Georgia. Go home. You all want to say anything?
I've already said what I had to say. Atlanta is the place where people like me, Killer Mike, other artists, creatives, other people who come from our culture, and other people who rise up out of the wreckage of the struggle that we all experience just by being born a certain color in this country. But Atlanta is a place where we can set an example of prosperity, and we've done that for generations. People like Dr. King, Maynard Jackson, Ambassador Young have paved the way for us. When everything else goes away, when you don't get treated right in New York, when you don't get treated right in LA, when you can't get treated right in Detroit, when you don't get treated right in St. Louis, when you don't get treated right in Alabama, Atlanta has been here for us. This city don't deserve it. However, I understand that a lot of others do. But we can't do this here. This is Wakanda. It's sacred. It must be protected.
I didn't want to come, and I don't want to be here. I'm the son of an Atlanta City police officer. My cousin is an Atlanta City police officer, and my other cousin, East Point police officer. And I got a lot of love and respect for police officers, down to the original 8 police officers in Atlanta that even after becoming police had to dress in a YMCA because white officers didn't want to get dressed with niggers. And here we are 80 years later. I watched a white officer assassinate a black man. And I know that tore your heart out. And I know it's crippling. And I have nothing positive to say in this moment because I don't want to be here. But I'm responsible to be here because it wasn't just Dr. King and people dressed nicely who marched and protested to progress this city and so many other cities. It was people like my grandmother, people like my aunts and uncles who were members of SCLC and NAACP, and in particular, Reverend James Orange, Mrs. Alice Johnson, and Reverend Love, who we just lost last year. So I'm duty-bound to be here to simply say that it is your duty not to burn your own house down for anger with an enemy. It is your duty to fortify your own house so that you may be a house of refuge in times of organization. And now is the time to plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize. It is time to beat up prosecutors you don't like at the voting booth. It is time to hold mayoral offices accountable, chiefs and deputy chiefs. Atlanta is not perfect, but we're a lot better than we ever were, and we're a lot better than cities are. I'm mad as hell. I woke up wanting to see the world burn down yesterday because I'm tired of seeing black men die. He casually put his knee on a human being's neck for 9 minutes as he died like a zebra in the clutch of a lion's jaw. And we watch it like murder porn over and over again. So that's why children are burning to the ground. They don't know what else to do. And it is the responsibility of us to make this better right now. We don't want to see one officer charged. We want to see 4 officers prosecuted and sentenced. We don't want to see targets burning. We want to see the system that sets up for systemic racism burnt to the ground. And as I sit here in Georgia, home of Stevens, Georgia, former vice president of the Confederacy, white man said that law, fundamental law, stated that whites were naturally the superior race, and the Confederacy was built on a cornerstone. It's called a cornerstone speech. Look it up. The cornerstone speech that blacks would always be subordinate. That officer believed that speech because he killed that man like an animal. In this city, officers have done horrendous things and they have been prosecuted. This city's cut different. In this city, you can find over 50 restaurants owned by black women. I didn't say minority, and I didn't say women of color. So after you burn down your own home, what do you have left but char and ash? CNN? Ted did a great thing. I love CNN, I love Cartoon Network, but I'd like to say to CNN right now, karma's a mother. Stop feeding fear and anger every day. Stop making people feel so fearful. Give them hope. I'm glad they only took down a sign and defaced a building and they're not killing human beings like that policeman did. I'm glad that they only destroyed some brick and mortar and they didn't rip a father from a son. They didn't rip a son from a mother like the policeman did. When a man yells for his mother in duress and pain and she's dead, he is essentially yelling, please, God, don't let it happen to me. And we watch that. So my question for us on the other side of this camera is after it burns, will we be left with charred or will we rise like a phoenix out of the ashes that Atlanta has always done? Will we use this as a moment to say that we will not do what other cities have done, and in fact, we will get better than we've been? We got good enough to destroy cash bonds. You don't have to worry about going to jail for something petty. We got smart enough to decriminalize marijuana. How smart are we going to be in the next 15 or 20 years to keep us ahead of this curve? So that much like when South Africa suffered apartheid, you had Andy and other politicians that could make sure that Atlanta said, Coca-Cola, we love you, but if you don't pull out of South Africa, we're going to leave. We're not going to drink Coca-Cola anymore. Coca-Cola jumped on their side and apartheid ended. So we have an opportunity now. Because I'm mad, I don't have any good advice. But what I can tell you is that if you sit in your homes tonight, instead of burning your home to the ground, you will have time to properly plot, plan, strategize, and organize and mobilize in an effective way. And two of the most effective ways is first taking your butt to the computer and making sure you fill out your census so that people know who you are and where you are. The next thing is making sure you exercise your political bully power and going to local elections and beating up the politicians that you don't like. You got a prosecutor sent your partner to jail and you know it was bullshit, put a new prosecutor in there. Now's your election to do it. You want a different senator that's more progressive, that promotes marijuana through, now is the time to do that. But it is not time to burn down your own home. I love and I respect you. I hate I don't have more to say. I hate I can't fix it in a snap. I hate Atlanta's not perfect for as good as we are. But we have to be better than this moment. We have to be better than burning down our own homes. Because if we lose Atlanta, what else we got? We lose an ability to plot, to plan, to strategize, to organize, and to properly mobilize. I want you to go home. I want you to talk to 10 of your friends. I want you guys to come up with real solutions. I would like for the Atlanta City Police Department to bring back the Community Review Board, one that Alice Johnson was formerly under Chief Turner. We need a review board here because we need to get ahead of it before an officer does some stupid shit. We need to get ahead of it. That's my recommendation to my mayor and my chief. Let's get a review board. Let's get ahead of it, and let's give them power. We don't need an officer that makes a mistake once, twice, 3 times, and finally he kills a boy on national TV, and the next thing you know, the country is burning down. We don't need a dumbass president repeating what segregationists said. When you start looting, we start shooting. But the problem is some officers black and some people gonna shoot back. And that's not good for our community either. I love and respect you all. I hope that we find a way out of it because I don't have the answers, but I do know we must plot, we must plan, we must strategize, organize, and mobilize. Thank you for allowing me some time to speak. I'd like to appreciate our chief for what she said on YouTube. I thought it was very bold to do. I'd like to appreciate our mayor for talking to us like a black mama and telling us to take our ass at home. And I'd like to thank my friend for convincing me to come here. And I'll defer to Joe Beasley now because he knows a hell of a lot more than we do. Thank y'all.
Well, thank you very much. I guess I'm one of the fortunate ones that grew up here in metropolitan Atlanta 83 years ago. So I've really seen real change. And I appreciate Mayor Bottoms for asking me to come and stand here with the group because, change is here. I remember very well when we couldn't even venture in this building. But now the mayor is the mayor of this city. I think we've got a great chief here. And I think that the word from the mayor is to go home. Because when you're in a crowd, the adrenaline is pumping, and you didn't really mean to get in trouble when you came out. But in fact, when you're following the crowd, whatever the crowd does that you're with, you're going to be a part of it. And so I would urge you to stay calm. The nation is changing, and I want you to be a part of the change and not be a statistic. Thank you.
We're joined by Reverend Dr. Bernice King. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody, and I want to thank the mayor for calling us together. This is a tough moment, and if I might take one liberty to just say, I've obviously been in the place of the daughter of George, 6-year-old left without her daddy, who was killed senselessly, as my father was assassinated senselessly. It sent me on a journey of anger. And I fought that demon a long time. And this is a moment where people are feeling a lot of stuff right now and are fed up. And as I stand in this moment and I look at my journey, I have to make an appeal to my brothers and sisters, because I realize that the only way to get constructive change is through nonviolent means. You know, a lot of people have been using my father's words. Sometimes I get a little upset when people do that and co-opt those words and take them out of context. But I realize that he gave his life to this nation. He was a son of this state and of this city, born on the soils of this city, on Auburn Avenue. But he said to us, riots are the language of the unheard. And the part we often miss when people use it is the part about the unheard. This is a time when we all have to listen. We have to listen to the cries that are coming out of the hearts and the souls of my young brothers and sisters and all of the others that are in the streets of America right now and in our city. But if there's anything I can say to them as they cry out to look at these changes, because the changes have to happen. We can't go back to yesterday. We can't keep doing things like we've been doing it in this nation. We've got to deal with systemic racism and white supremacy once and for all. But the only pathway I know to do this is through nonviolent means. It is a proven method. It did not fail my father and them. As many people who think it failed, it did not fail them, because one thing about it is when you really understand it and really practice it, it brings about the results. So right now it's about what is the end goal. The end goal is we want change and we want it now. But change never comes through violence. It is not a solution. Violence, in fact, creates more problems. It is not a solution. nonviolent way is the way because the means and the ends have to be consistent. We will never get to the end of justice and equity and true peace, which is not merely the absence of tension, but the presence of justice, unless we do it through nonviolent means. And so I'm just speaking from my heart now and saying, I feel you. Trust me, I feel you. I've been close to the edge this time. But I can't go back to all that I felt inside and the rage that was inside that wanted me to destroy people and destroy lives as Martin Luther King's daughter. Because I know that the only way to get what we really want and really get it and not just crumbs is through nonviolence and peace. And so please, let's stay focused in that way. And remember, everybody is not on the same page. There are people who would try to incite a race war in this country. Let's not fall into their hands and into their trap. There's another way. And so in the name of Martin Luther King Jr., from the soils of Atlanta, Georgia, and from the 5-year-old girl who lost her daddy to gun violence senselessly at the hands of law enforcement. Let's do this the peaceful and nonviolent way to deal with the evils and the conditions of our time. But I will say, as he said in his I Have a Dream speech, if we go back to business as usual, we're going to be in trouble. Let's not go back to business as usual. Let's deal with these issues that people are crying out of their soul and their spirit, the conditions that have led to this kind of action. Thank you.
We've been joined also by Derek Bozeman. Thank you. Did you? And we're going to keep it brief because we got to get Chief Shields back into our command center, and I want to give you all a chance to ask questions.
Let me say, as one who was born and raised in this city and have led many protests myself, what we saw tonight should disturb all of us. The beauty of this city that's called Atlanta is we always had the Atlanta way of doing things. I don't know what the intent was tonight. We had what was a peaceful protest that descended into something that none of us can be proud of. I joined with the mayor. What I saw were young people who were hungry and thirsty to know what freedom tastes like. And so I saw a lot of teenagers out there. And so our message to them is go home and learn what this democracy is all about. My belief in the Constitution is whole, that we should have the right to redress our government for grievances. But the good thing about this leadership in Atlanta, even when we disagree, they're willing to listen. And to Chief Shields tonight, the Atlanta Police Department ought to be commended. They showed an extraordinary amount of restraint. But let's be very real here. Some of the people who were down there tonight did not come for Brother Floyd. They did not come for Ahmaud Arbery. They came there with the intent to be destructive. They came there with an agenda to create havoc. Because what does shattering a car window, breaking into a restaurant, how does that move the margin closer towards freedom? And so we say to these young people, learn from the best of who we are in Atlanta, a city too busy to hate. We have to pause sometime to remind ourselves of that. But what we saw tonight was destruction, and it was for destruction purposes. It had no real intent, no real intention other than to be what we saw and what we experienced. And so clearly, Atlanta history has always been, she will take time and pause. If you're trying to be heard, then we want to hear what you have to say. And that has been the way we've done it in Atlanta. But what we saw down here in the last hour or two has nothing to do with those brothers who are crying out from the grave for freedom. It had everything to do with people who really don't care about this city and don't care about real freedom and real justice. Thank you.
I just have a quick question. This is actually for both the mayor and Chief Shields. So it's apparent that you guys, when it comes to the police department, have been on one accord and have allowed the protesters to let their voice be heard. But at this point, now that it's getting outrageous, we just got reports that they're shooting officers with BB guns. You know, when do you guys draw the line and say enough is enough? You know, we're going to switch our angle.
It's enough. It's enough. That's why you need to go home. If you're trying to effectuate change, go home. It's enough. All right, anything else?
Yeah, I just, you know that there are a lot of people who find there to be virtue in peaceful protest, and there are probably still a lot of them out there as well. What do you say to those folks while at the same time telling everybody to go?
If you care about a peaceful protest, you're not in the middle of one anymore. So if you want a peaceful protest, go home. Organize and come back on a peaceful day. This is not a peaceful night.
Are you concerned at all about them not listening to the message and coming back tomorrow night or another night? What's your message going forward?
I am, because they're disruptors. We are all angry. This hurts. This hurts everybody in this room. But what are you changing by tearing up a city? You've lost all credibility now. This is not how we changed America. This is not how we changed the world with the leadership of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This is something else. And this isn't about justice. If you're breaking out windows and you're running down the street with liquor in your hands, whose memory is that honoring? One more question, and we're going to get back in the command center.
We've seen leaders in Minnesota discuss how important trust is. Can you speak to what you have done that would encourage those who are on those streets right now to trust you?
I absolutely can. And Killer Mike mentioned one thing. We eliminated cash bail bonds in the city of Atlanta. We closed our doors to ICE. We are in the process of closing our city jail and converting it into a center of equity, health, and wellness, with the leadership and alongside real community activists. Real people who are part of a real movement. That's not what's happening out there tonight. We have at promise centers going up across this city where our police recruits go in once a week and volunteer with the kids in the community so that their first encounter with them is not when they're chasing them down the street. Their first encounter is when they're talking to them about their life and telling them how things can be better for them. We do things differently in this city, and we always have. That's why whatever is happening on our streets tonight, that's not Atlanta. You just go back to wherever you came from, because you are disgracing this city. That's not who and what Atlanta is. All right. Thank you.